The San Andreas Fault, America's Shaky connection. The San Andreas Fault, America's Shaky connection. The San Andreas Fault is one of the most notorious fault lines in the world, running through the state of California in the United States. This fault line is responsible for numerous earthquakes that have shaped the landscape and affected the lives of millions of people living in the region. Spanning approximately 800 miles, the San Andreas Fault is not only a geological feature but also a constant reminder of the power and unpredictability of nature. The San Andreas Fault is a transform fault, where two tectonic plates slide past each other horizontally. In this case, the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate are the ones involved. The Pacific Plate is moving northwest relative to the North American Plate, causing stress to build up along the fault line. When the stress becomes too great to hold, the plates slip, causing an earthquake. The history of seismic activity along the San Andreas Fault dates back several millennia. Native American tribes in California have passed down stories and legends about the shaking of the earth, we now know to be caused by earthquakes along this fault line. However, it wasn't until European settlers arrived in the region that comprehensive studies and understanding of the fault began to develop. One of the most notable earthquakes along the San Andreas Fault occurred in 1906 in San Francisco, resulting in widespread destruction and loss of life. Known as the Great San Francisco Earthquake, His event was caused by the movement of the fault, which ruptured along a length of about 290 miles. Since the 1906 earthquake, numerous other seismic events have occurred along the San Andreas Fault, reminding Californians of the constant threat they face from seismic activity. The impact of these earthquakes on the lives of those living near the San Andreas Fault cannot be understated. The destruction caused by seismic events can be devastating, resulting in the loss of businesses, infrastructure, and, tragically, lives. In addition to the immediate dangers posed by earthquakes, the San Andreas Fault has other long-term implications for the population living in its vicinity. The constant movement of the plates along the fault line leads to gradual deformation of the landscape, which can result in issues such as subsidence and the formation of new geological features. This ongoing process requires careful monitoring and management to ensure the safety and well-being of those living in the region. To mitigate the risks associated with living near the San Andreas Fault, extensive measures have been implemented in California. Building codes have been updated to require structures to be more resistant to seismic activity. Infrastructure, such as bridges and highways, is designed to withstand earthquakes and minimize disruption. Regular drills, emergency response training, and the development of early warning systems are all part of the effort to enhance preparedness. Despite the risks and challenges posed by the San Andreas Fault, it is important to note that California's connection to this fault line is not solely negative. The movement along the fault line has contributed to the formation of some of California's most impressive natural wonders. The creation of the San Francisco Bay, the rugged coastline of Big Sur, and the towering Sierra Nevada mountains are all a result of the tectonic forces exerted along the San Andreas Fault. In addition, the study of the San Andreas Fault has provided valuable insights into the field of geology and plate tectonics. Scientists from around the world travel to California to conduct research and study the processes occurring along this fault line. The knowledge gained from studying the San Andreas Fault has contributed to our understanding of how the Earth's crust is formed and continues to evolve. The San Andreas Fault serves as a constant reminder of the power of nature and the need for preparedness. While the threat of earthquakes remains, Californians have taken significant steps to reduce the risks associated with living near the fault line. The San Andreas Fault, also known as America's Shaky Connection, is a notorious fault line running through the state of California in the United States. It spans approximately 800 miles and is responsible for numerous earthquakes that have shaped the region and impacted the lives of millions of people. This fault line is a transform fault, where two tectonic plates, the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate, slide past each other horizontally. The movement of the Pacific Plate northwest relative to the North American Plate causes stress to build up along the fault line. When the stress exceeds the holding capacity, the plates slip, resulting in an earthquake. Seismic activity along the San Andreas Fault has been documented for thousands of years. Native American tribes in California passed down stories and legends about the earth shaking, which we now know were caused by earthquakes along this fault line. However, comprehensive studies and understanding of the fault began to develop when European settlers arrived. One of the most notable earthquakes along the San Andreas Fault was the 1906 Great San Francisco earthquake. This devastating event resulted in widespread destruction and loss of life in San Francisco. With an estimated magnitude of 7.8, the earthquake ruptured along a length of about 290 miles. It caused buildings to collapse, fires to break out, and significant damage throughout the region. The impact of these earthquakes on the lives of those living near the fault line is profound. They can result in the loss of homes, businesses, infrastructure, and, tragically, lives. Although advanced elements have been made in understanding and predicting earthquakes, they still strike with little warning and can have severe consequences. Living near the San Andreas Fault also presents long-term implications. The gradual movement of the plates along the fault line leads to deformation of the landscape, which can cause issues such as subsidence and the formation of new geological features. Continuous monitoring and management are necessary to ensure the safety of those in the region. California has implemented extensive measures to mitigate the risks associated with living near the fault line. Building codes have been updated to make structures more resistant to seismic activity. Infrastructure like bridges and highways are designed to withstand earthquakes and minimize disruption. Public education and preparedness efforts play a vital role in ensuring that Californians are aware of the risks and are well prepared for earthquakes. Despite the risks, the connection to the San Andreas Fault has some positive aspects. The movement along the fault line has contributed to the formation of natural wonders like the San Francisco Bay, the coastline of Big Sur, and the Sierra Nevada mountains. Additionally, the study of the fault line has provided valuable insights into geology and plate tectonics, with scientists from around the world conducting research in California. The San Andreas Fault serves as a constant reminder of nature's power and the need for preparedness. Californians have taken significant steps to reduce the risks associated with living near the fault line. Building resilient infrastructure, implementing effective emergency response measures, and educating the public are all ongoing efforts to coexist with one of the world's most famous fault lines. The San Andreas Fault is a notorious fault line running through California in the United States. It stretches about 800 miles and has caused numerous earthquakes that have shaped the region and affected millions of people. This fault line is known as a transform fault, where two tectonic plates slide past each other horizontally. The Pacific Plate and the North American Plate are the plates involved. In this case, the Pacific Plate is moving northwest in relation to the North American Plate, causing stress to accumulate along the fault line. Eventually, when the stress becomes too much, the plates slip, triggering an earthquake. Seismic activity along the San Andreas Fault goes back thousands of years. Native American tribes in California have passed down stories and legends about the ground shaking, which we now know were caused by earthquakes along this fault line. However, it was only when European settlers arrived that comprehensive studies and understanding of the fault began to develop. One of the most well-known earthquakes along the San Andreas Fault occurred in 1906 in San Francisco. This event, famously known as the Great San Francisco Earthquake, resulted in widespread destruction and loss of life. Since the 1906 earthquake, numerous other seismic events have taken place along the San Andreas Fault, reminding Californians of the constant threat they face from earthquakes. The impact of these earthquakes on the lives of those living near the San Andreas Fault cannot be underestimated. Seismic events can be devastating, resulting in the loss of homes, businesses, infrastructure,